What's up everyone, this is Ryan here, and in this series I'm going to be walking you through the basics of creating a REST API for your Android application. Now if you already have a pretty good idea of what REST is and you're maybe coming from a different platform and you really just want to see how to implement the damn thing, then what you can do is jump to the next video. Whereas in this video, sort of the rest of it is going to be talking about the basics of REST for people who aren't so familiar with it. So if you don't know what REST is, or you kind of have a rough idea but it's never really been explained super clearly, what I'll hope to do is sort of give you the bedrock that you can use sort of in subsequent videos so that you understand what's going on. But basically, instead of giving you a bunch of technical jargon and all that stuff, I'm going to try and focus on like, okay, what is the problem that REST solves? How does REST allow us to solve that problem? And what will our solution look like from a more visual perspective? So with any luck, my answers to those questions will sort of give you all the need to jump into the next videos where we actually implement the thing. So that's it, let's get started. One of the more common problems in designing multi-platform and cloud-based applications is that you need to have some way for these different applications to actually communicate with each other. So I'd kind of like you to imagine a scenario where we have something like an Android application and an iOS application, and they're both talking to the same cloud database because we'd like our different users to be able to sort of share information across platforms. So in this particular scenario, the thing that we need to sort of pay attention to is that we need some way of sharing data over the internet that's sort of interoperable between these different platforms. And it turns out that REST is exactly that kind of solution. REST is a way to define a platform-independent interface, or API, for use between our different applications. Now it turns out that REST is best defined as an architectural style, which can be achieved through various kinds of implementations. In this particular case, we are going to be building an HTTP-based REST API for use of communication between an Android application, and we'll be using GitHub's pre-configured REST endpoint or server, which is where we'll actually be getting the data from. So essentially what we'll be demonstrating here is how do we get something like our Android application to use a REST API to talk to something like GitHub, a REST endpoint, and essentially communicate data between the server and the client. So if any of this sounds vague, that's totally fine. I'm quite confident that when we actually get into the code itself, I'll sort of explain like what is an HTTP method, and we'll figure out how to create our interface and all that kind of stuff here. So basically, the main thing I really just want you to take away from this video is the problem that we're going to be solving is figuring out some way in which we can get sort of a totally different platform application, sort of pair of applications or multiple different kinds of applications to communicate in sort of a consistent way, and that happens to be what REST is. So hopefully that was useful to you. Obviously I'm leaving out an enormous amount of detail here, but I really find that in many cases explanation of REST sort of get lost in describing what are the architectural constraints for something to be considered a REST API. And what I wanted to do in this video is just keep things really short, sweet, and to the point, and just give you that sort of concept of what we're going to be doing in the subsequent videos. So that's it for this one. If you liked the video, please do me a favor and hit the like button down below. And that's basically it. We'll see you in the next video.